I'm not saying Liana messed it up, but that slide was her responsibility, wasn't it?
It wasn't the first time she took credit or shifted blame, but this time, it hit harder. I wasn't the loudest voice in the room, but I always made sure my work spoke for itself, until someone else started speaking over it. At Glint Hive, volume had a currency of its own. People who spoke fast, loud, and with just enough confidence seemed to win arguments before they even began. It wasn't that they were smarter or more capable, just more practiced at shining under fluorescent lights and polished conference tables. I didn't mind that, not at first. I liked being the quiet one. I liked deadlines, deep work, and letting my ideas speak through the campaigns I built, slide by slide. I wasn't invisible. I just didn't compete for spotlight. And then there was Chloe. She had been my desk neighbor for almost a year. Same age, same team, completely different wavelengths. Chloe filled space, laughter, compliments, bubblegum pink sticky notes. Her presence never went unnoticed. She was the kind of person who brought donuts on Fridays, but somehow made you feel like you owed her for it. People called her the spark plug of Glint Hive. I called her exhausting, but we got along, at least on the surface. That Monday morning, I arrived early, as always. The office was still quiet, save for the soft hum of the HVACs and the occasional click of distant keyboards. I made tea, settled into my corner desk near the window, and opened the campaign file I'd spent the weekend refining. It was our most important project of the quarter, a Thanksgiving brand relaunch for a national grocery chain. I had built it from scratch. Strategy, messaging, visual cues, everything, down to the subtle palette that transitioned from pumpkin orange to cranberry red across the deck. Chloe had submitted a few ideas, mostly slogans like grateful plates and feast your eyes, but none made it past the internal review. She didn't mind. She had a different skill presentation. At 9:17, me. She breezed into the office like a Macy's Day parade float, caramel swirl latte in hand, leather boots clicking against the concrete floor. "Oh my God, this weather is peak cardigan season," she said to no one in particular. Then, to me, "Liana, you're gonna love what I added to slide 6. I looked up. Slide 6. "Yeah," she smiled. "Trust me, it needed a little pop. Don't worry. I left your name in the notes section. We're gonna crush this." I nodded slowly, unsure whether to feel thankful or hijacked, but I didn't have time to review it before the meeting. Marcus, our team lead, called us into the big room just before 9:30. The lights dimmed slightly as Chloe plugged in her laptop to the projector. I took a seat 2 rows back, close to the window. My heart rate, which was steady moments before, picked up pace. She began like a TED talker. "Picture this," she said, "a Thanksgiving table, laughter, gratitude, and right at the center, our brand's message, we're not just feeding families, we're nourishing moments." She clicked through the slides, each one more polished than I remembered. The layout was still mine, the campaign arc unmistakably mine, but she delivered it like a solo act, brushing past my contributions as if I'd been an intern who helped format the margins. Then she landed on slide 6. A bold orange banner read, "Harvesting Joy, a family-first focus." That was the one I'd rewritten 5 times last Friday night, the one I'd stopped and stared at because it finally felt right. Marcus leaned forward. "Strong angle. That's the kind of emotional pull we need." Chloe nodded. "Chin up." Exactly what I thought too. Not a single glance in my direction. Not a pause. Not a mention. Just that simple theft, surgical and smooth. I stayed silent, pressing my thumbnail into the rubber edge of my laptop trackpad. After the meeting, Marcus walked by and clapped Chloe on the shoulder. "You're getting better at this. Nice flow." She flashed a dazzling smile. "Team effort." When she passed me in the hallway, she whispered, "We make a good duo." I could have said something. I could have stopped her, asked for credit, clarified the authorship. But instead, I walked back to my desk and stared at the file name on our shared drive. Chloe Marsh Q4, Campaigner Final. P-Pits. I don't know what hit me harder, the name, or the fact that no one questioned it. That afternoon, I stepped outside during my break and called Grandma. She always picked up on the second ring. "You sound tired." "Sweetheart, I'm just processing," I said. "Still waters run deep." "Liana," she said gently, "but even deep waters ripple when someone tosses a stone. I'm not trying to make ripples. Then don't let anyone toss the stone." She always had a way of saying things that made sense later, not in the moment. When I came back inside, Chloe was laughing with someone by the coffee station, tossing her hair back like a shampoo commercial. The way people gravitated toward her used to fascinate me. Now it grated. I spent the rest of the afternoon reviewing emails, checking Slack messages, and revisiting every brainstorm Chloe and I had shared in the past month. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for, just something that proved this wasn't all in my head. That night, long after most of the team had gone home, I was still there. The cleaning crew passed by and gave me a quiet nod. The lights above flickered slightly, and the city outside dimmed to a soft blue. I plugged in my earbuds, scrolled through my voice memos, and found the one from October 12th. Chloe's voice rang out, "Just leave the strategy section to me." She'd said, "You know I suck at the visuals, but I'll sell the message." I renamed the file, brainstorm.1012. Chloe confirms, Lee. Then I tapped the record button. I smiled back, but not because I was okay with it. I had just turned on the voice recorder. The first real cut came in the form of a missing slide, and Chloe made sure everyone knew whose name was on the file. It was Wednesday, just 3 days after the meeting where Chloe had practically performed a one-woman Broadway campaign pitch with my slides. We were scheduled for a progress review with Marcus and the client services team. Just a quick check-in, nothing high pressure. At least, it wasn't supposed to be. I had arrived early again, tweaked a few things on the deck, and double-checked every animation, note, and timing. I had even rehearsed my parts mentally. Though no one had asked me to present, Chloe was leading it again. She showed up 10 minutes late this time, balancing a blueberry muffin on her MacBook like a party trick. "I hope no one minds carbs," she said with a wink, dropping into her seat and plugging in her laptop. The meeting kicked off, and we were cruising through the slides' brand story, persona deep dives, customer journey mapping. I sat quietly at the edge of the table, notebook open but blank, just in case. Then Marcus spoke up. "Hang on, wasn't there supposed to be a slide here with the regional promo comparison?" Everyone paused. I knew exactly what he meant. "Slide 14. I thought it was in the version I sent you," Chloe said quickly, her voice smooth but high-pitched. "Maybe Liana can check. She worked on that section, I think." I looked up from my notebook. It was definitely there yesterday. Chloe tilted her head, flashing a puzzled smile. "Oh, weird. I guess it must have gotten dropped when we merged files. Or maybe it was saved in a draft. Liana, you sent it to me Monday, right?" There it was, that little pivot. The subtle but unmistakable shift of blame. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. "I did," I said calmly. "It was in the file named Q4 App Promo Strategy V3. I emailed at 42 A. Me. Monday." Marcus looked mildly annoyed. "All right, please resend it after the meeting. Let's not lose time now." I nodded, but Chloe smiled at me with that quiet look of triumph. It was small, most people wouldn't have noticed, but I did. The meeting wrapped. Everyone dispersed. Chloe came by my desk with a cup of coffee and set it down. "Thanks for covering," she said brightly. "You're such a team player." I didn't answer. I opened my inbox and pulled up the original file, complete with timestamps, and then checked the file Chloe had uploaded to the shared drive yesterday. Slide 40 was gone. I cross-checked the metadata. She had edited it at 5:52 p.m. Tuesday. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then I created a new folder on my desktop and labeled it Back Pocket. Inside, I saved the original deck, screenshots of the version history, and every email where Chloe confirmed receipt. Next, I opened the small voice recorder pen I had bought on Amazon 6 months ago after attending a copywriting conference that reminded us, document everything. I charged it, tested the mic, and slid it into the zipper pouch of my work tote. From now on, if she wanted to keep talking, I'd let her talk into something permanent. Thursday came, and with it, a brainstorm session in one of the glass conference rooms. Chloe and I were scheduled to build the holiday slogan shortlist. She walked in humming a Mariah Carey song, her usual holiday mood already switched on. "I had the funniest idea," she said, sitting across from me. "What if we called the campaign Turkey and Truth? Like, people come together and let things out during Thanksgiving." "Funny, right?" I smiled politely. "Might not test well in the Midwest." "Oh, come on, live a little." She grinned, then leaned forward. "Seriously though, can you take the draft home tonight? I've got dinner plans, and I'm dead on creative energy." I hesitated. "I thought we were splitting it." "Liana," she said sweetly, "you're better at this anyway. I'm just the talker. Remember?" She laughed, then reached for her phone as it buzzed. Brandon again. He's the worst texter. I pressed the voice pen slightly in my bag, just to be sure it was still recording. Later that evening, at home, I sat in my kitchen with my laptop open and 2 cups of tea on the table, one full, one cold. I reworked the tagline list, created fresh variations, even cleaned up the tone analysis Chloe had half finished. When I was done, I exported the PDF and emailed it back to her. "Holiday with slogans and cut a draft 1. No reply. The next morning, the file was uploaded to the team drive under Holiday the Campaign Marsh version final. She'd stripped my name from the PD, added her own comments, and posted it with a cheery Slack message. Hope y'all like the new slogan list. Big thanks to Liana for being a sounding board. A sounding board. That was the moment I stopped feeling irritated and started feeling strategic. At lunch, I watched her hold court at the team table, retelling the missing slide story from 2 days ago like a sitcom joke. I was like, oops. And poor Liana looked like she saw a ghost. Laughter, eyebrows raised. Someone even patted my shoulder. I forced a smile. That night, I stayed late again. This time, not to clean up Chloe's mess, but to start building a timeline. Emails, recordings, slide versions, timestamps, and then I organized them all into folders labeled Week 1, Week 2, Slide Theft, Slack comments, verbal confirmations, because this wasn't just about one campaign anymore. So I started recording our private conversations. 2. By the time Chloe blamed me in front of Marcus, I had already labeled the audio file. Wednesday setup. Betrayal incoming. It was the kind of morning that buzzed under your skin. The campaign deadline loomed closer, and the room felt like a live wire, people shuffling, clicking pens, adjusting collars. The Friday status review with Marcus wasn't just routine anymore. Tensions had been building since the missing slide incident earlier in the week, and I had a feeling something was about to tip. I sat in the back corner of the conference room, my laptop open but untouched, voice pen quietly recording inside my tote. I had arrived 10 minutes early to make sure the deck loaded correctly. Chloe came in 5 minutes late, loud as ever, laughing about something one of the interns had said. She always had impeccable timing. Morning, everyone, she called cheerily as she slid into the presenter's seat. She didn't look at me. She hadn't really looked at me since Wednesday. Marcus nodded, a little less warmly than usual. Let's get started. This one matters. She began her presentation with the usual energy. Same hand gestures, same artificial charm, same gloss over details that weren't hers. And then it happened. Marcus narrowed his eyes at slide 17. Wait, where's the engagement tier breakdown for influencers? He scrolled back, forward again. This was promised in last week's agenda. Chloe leaned back casually. Yeah, I thought Liana was handling that part. She said she'd upload it last night, but I didn't see it in the drive this morning. I looked up slowly, my hands flat on the table. That's incorrect, I said, voice calm but cutting. I uploaded it at 07 p.m. yesterday, as scheduled. It's under Phase 2 Influencers Carter. Timestamps there. A flicker crossed Marcus's face. He turned to Chloe. Did you check the folder before this meeting? Chloe blinked. I was wrapping up the social ad mock-ups, so I didn't do a full sweep, but you said Liana missed it. I said I thought she had uploaded it late. I guess I assumed. That's enough, Marcus said, voice low. We'll verify later. The silence that followed was icy. I could hear the heating system groan behind the drywall. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. The recorder in my bag had captured it all the way. She casually tossed me under the bus, like it was a game of office dodgeball. After the meeting, people left quickly, too quickly. You always know something toxic's in the air when nobody lingers for coffee. Chloe caught up to me near the hallway, lowering her voice like we were still friends. Don't take it personally, she said with a sugary smile. You know how Marcus gets when things are missing. I was just trying to keep the pace. I stared at her, unblinking. You could have said nothing. She tilted her head. Relax. We're on the same team. That phrase, same team, rang in my ears like a punchline to a joke I didn't find funny anymore. Back at my desk, I didn't stew. I documented. I took screenshots of the drive logs. I forwarded the Slack message where she had thumbs-upped the file at 8:08 p.m. I even attached a copy of the deck, untouched since I uploaded it. Then I opened a blank email, addressed it to Marcus, and wrote, Subject, Campaign Tier Asset Submission Clarification. Hi Marcus. Following the conversation in this morning's meeting, I'm attaching the timestamped file and chat confirmation for the influencer tier breakdown. Let me know if you need anything further. Best. Liana. Attachment. Voice recording a conf call, Friday 9 a.m. MP3. I hit send. Then I sat still, counting the seconds like the ticks of a time bomb. 19 minutes later, Marcus called me into his office. He didn't waste time. He closed the door, gestured for me to sit. He had the recording open on his screen, paused halfway through. He didn't say hi, I listened. I nodded once. I don't know why she thought she could get away with that. She's done it before, I said. He leaned back, his eyes tired. I've seen glimpses, but this was bold. I didn't argue. I didn't need to. You've been documenting. For a while, he gave a slow nod, tapping a pen against his desk. From this point forward, Your running strategy. Chloe can continue handling presentation prep and visual briefs, but you'll report directly to me for campaign approvals. Understood. Yes, he wasn't warm, but he was decisive. That was enough. As I left his office, I updated my project folder one last time. VoiceFoot log 3A. Chloe redirects. Blameful transcript. An hour later, the announcement went out on Slack. From Marcus Bell. Team, please note a slight restructure on Campaign 4. Liana Carter will lead strategic planning and brand messaging. Chloe Marsh will continue as liaison for social visuals and presentation flow. Let's keep momentum strong. Clean, polite, surgical. Across the room, I watched Chloe read it. Her eyes didn't widen. She didn't gasp. She just froze for a second. Her jaw locked, and she reached for her phone without lifting her gaze. And for the first time since I'd known her, she didn't smile when she stood up. She packed her things and left for the day early. I logged the moment mentally, not out of pettiness, out of principle. You can only gaslight someone for so long before they start recording the gas. I returned to my desk and reopened the file directory on my desktop. The folder names were clearer now. Week 1, theft. Week 2, deflection. Week 3, blame shift. And now, a new one. Week 4, playback. Because I knew what was coming next. And for the first time, Marcus replied immediately. Come to my office. Bring your laptop. I sat silently as Marcus pressed play, and for once, Chloe had nothing to say. The sound of her voice filled the room, not the confident, curated tone she used in meetings, but the casual, careless one from earlier that week. I could hear it clearly, even with the slight hum of the overhead vents and the soft squeak of someone shifting in their chair. Marcus just needs someone to blame, Chloe's voice said, light and dismissive. She'll take it. She always does. The room went still. We were in the larger conference room now, the one with the long walnut table and the glass walls that made you feel exposed, even when the blinds were half drawn. Marcus had called for an unscheduled campaign alignment meeting that morning. Just core members, no clients. No one expected a playback session. I sat midway down the table, hands folded in front of me. My tote bag was zipped shut beside me. I had no notes, no laptop, nothing to hide behind. I didn't need to. Across from me sat Chloe, stiff in her cream blazer, arms crossed. Her smile had vanished an hour ago, ever since the invite had come from Marcus's assistant marked Internal Clarification, Campaign 4. The recording went on. Chloe again. It's not like Liana's gonna push back. She hates confrontation. Just let her clean it up quietly. She's good at that. Someone to my left exhaled slowly. To my right, the junior content strategist stared down at her notebook as if trying not to be there. Marcus finally hit pause. The silence that followed was heavier than anything I had felt at Glint Hive before. Chloe looked at Marcus, eyes wide. Where did that come from? He didn't answer her. His attention was on the rest of the team. The purpose of this meeting, he said steadily, is to re-establish transparency and accountability on a campaign that has, frankly, gone off course not due to lack of talent, but due to erosion of trust. He turned to me. Liana, would you like to say anything? I shook my head once. No need. And truly, there wasn't. Everything that needed to be said had already been spoken by Chloe herself. He nodded. Very well. From today forward, Liana will have full lead on the Thanksgiving campaign. All client communication, strategic decisions, and sign-offs go through her. Chloe flinched. You can't be serious. I am, Marcus said flatly, and pending HR review of the file trail. Your role on this project will be adjusted accordingly. A murmur moved through the room. Chloe's lips parted, but no words came out. Not a protest, not an excuse. Only then did I allow myself to glance her way. There was no triumph in her eyes anymore. Just the dawning realization that the room she'd once owned had shifted beneath her. After the meeting, people filed out quietly, avoiding eye contact. Marcus stayed behind, speaking briefly with HR, while I slipped out through the side hall. My fingers were trembling, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of finally being heard. Outside, I didn't go back to my desk. I walked straight to the small park 2 blocks away and sat on the iron bench facing the food trucks. The trees were turning gold and rust now. A breeze pulled at my sleeves. I pulled out my phone and called Grandma. She picked up on the first ring. Well, she said. It happened, I said softly. He played it, in front of everyone. There was a pause, and she didn't say a word. Grandma chuckled. Told you, baby, they always think the quiet ones won't strike. I closed my eyes for a second, feeling a release I hadn't known I'd been holding. It felt heavy, but right. Good, she said. Now go enjoy being the smartest woman in that building. Quiet doesn't mean small. When I returned to the office, Chloe's desk was empty. Her nameplate was gone, the usual cloud of perfume absent. Only a single cup of cold coffee remained, ringed into the coaster she never used properly. I opened my laptop, navigated to the campaign files, and clicked open a new folder. Phase 4. Lead Strategy. L. Carter. I began sorting the tasks by urgency, assigning deliverables to the people who had been too afraid to contradict Chloe before. No one resisted. In fact, one of the designers stopped by my desk with a note. "Thanks for handling that. We all knew. We just didn't know what to do." I didn't answer, just nodded once and kept typing. Around 3 p.m, Marcus came by. He didn't say much, just set a folder down beside me. "HR cleared everything. She won't be back on your projects." Then, as he walked away, he added, "You did this with more grace than I would have." I didn't feel graceful. I felt firm, settled, present in a way I hadn't felt since Chloe first started talking over me months ago. I uploaded one final file to the archive drive that day. Master recording presentation in 1027 MP3. Its description, silence, earned. Chloe opened her mouth to protest, but Marcus had already stood up and walked out. People finally started asking me for input, not because I raised my voice, but because I'd earned their respect. It felt subtle at first, like a shift in air pressure before the rain. The glances were different, the way people paused to let me finish a thought, the way they stayed silent to actually listen, not out of politeness, but out of something else, something earned. On Monday morning, I came in early again, but this time, the energy was lighter. The barista downstairs already knew my order. At the elevator, one of the analytics guys, Brandon, I think held the door for me and smiled like I wasn't invisible. When I got to my desk, my nameplate had been moved to the center row. The corner seat, the lead seat, it wasn't assigned. No one told me to take it. But the files, the client correspondence, and even the fresh stack of project briefs said enough. Marcus walked by with a nod. "You'll be hosting the noon sync today." Just like that. No handover, no dramatic announcement, just quiet, deliberate transition. I opened the presentation dashboard and saw that the folder now read, Campaign 4, Strategy. Liana Key. Chloe hadn't come in. According to HR, she was still on payroll, but in reassignment. That's what people said when someone wasn't fired, but wasn't really there anymore either. Her desk was cleared, except for a framed photo of her and her dog that someone had shoved into the bottom drawer. At noon, I led my first full sync. I didn't start with jokes or energy bursts. I started with the numbers, impressions, conversions, drop-off rates. I shared client feedback. I asked the team for insight. They gave it, not because they had to, but because I was now the person with the pen, and I listened. Halfway through the meeting, Lydia, our lead designer, leaned forward. "Do you want to revisit the call to action phrasing? The client liked harvest joy, but I think it could land deeper if we tie it to community." I smiled. "Let's draft 3 variations. We'll test them before Thursday." She nodded, almost surprised that her suggestion wasn't just heard but used. When the meeting ended, people didn't rush out. They stayed, asked questions. One of the newer writers lingered, notebook in hand. "Hey," she said, shyly, "I've been watching how you manage this. It's quiet, but it works. Just wanted to say, it's inspiring." I blinked, caught off guard. "Thank you," I said simply. Later that day, I walked by Marcus's office, and he motioned me in. Client called. He said, "They're happy. Like, really happy." Said your tone notes helped realign the voice completely. I nodded. "They want you to be the point of contact from now on." That stopped me. Me. He looked up. "You've earned it." He leaned back, arms crossed. "Chloe had charisma. You have clarity. And right now, this team needs clarity." I left his office and walked back to my desk, feeling strangely light, not like I had won something, but like I had put something down, a burden I hadn't realized I was carrying, the need to prove I existed. That afternoon, I took a 15-minute walk outside. The air was brisk, but the sun was out. I sat by the planter across the street and called Grandma again. "They gave you the campaign?" she asked. "All of it." "Good. You didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't beg." "No," I said. "I just kept receipts." She laughed, a full belly laugh this time. "That's my girl." When I returned, I found a small note on my desk. "You held the line. We noticed." Lydia. No one had ever left me a note before. Not for strategy, not for being steady, not for not falling apart. I tucked it into my drawer and went back to work. Just before 5, a message popped up in Slack from a client I'd never spoken with directly. "Hey, Liana heard you're leading the fall rollout. Can we hop on a call next week? Would love to hear your direction firsthand." I stared at the message, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then I typed, "Absolutely. Let me know what works for you." And for a long moment, I just sat there, watching the blinking cursor, letting it sink in. I didn't reply right away. I wanted to tell someone first. When I told Grandma what happened, she laughed and said, "Told you they'd hear. You just had to turn the volume up." I was sitting on the same bench at Republic Square Park where I had gone the week before, back when everything felt like it could collapse under the weight of silence. But now, the silence felt different, less like pressure, more like peace. "They played the whole thing?" Grandma asked, still marveling. "Word for word," I said. The room went dead quiet. Did she deny it? She didn't even try. Grandma clicked her tongue with a sort of dignified pride. Some folks only learn when their echo fades. I laughed. "That sounds like something you'd cross-stitch on a pillow." "Maybe I will," she said, then softened. "And how are you feeling?" I paused. "Lighter," I admitted, not vindicated exactly, just like I stopped carrying a bag of bricks I didn't even realize was strapped to my back. She hummed in approval. "You didn't throw punches, baby. You turned on a light." They saw what they needed to see. The call ended with her usual advice to drink more water and wear something besides grey. I promised I'd visit for Christmas this year for real this time. When I returned to the office, there was a new kind of energy. Nothing flashy, no banners or balloons, but the looks were different, lingering a second longer. With more intention, I passed Marcus in the hallway, and he gave me a half smile that said more than words. Back at my desk, I noticed my workspace had subtly shifted again. A slightly larger monitor, a desk organizer. Someone had quietly placed with a note. "Lead however feels right. You're already doing it. G-Team." I set the note beside my keyboard and opened my inbox. There it was. Subject: Speaker Invitation, Regional Leadership Summit. From Marcus Bell. "Liana, we'd be honored if you'd represent Glint Hive at next month's internal summit. The theme is leadership without the microphone. Your story came up repeatedly. You embody the message. Let me know if you're willing. I stared at the screen, blinking back a surprising warmth behind my eyes. For years, I'd sat in meetings where my words were cut short, where my sentences were rephrased by louder voices. Now they were asking me to speak on my own terms. Later that day, during the strategy check-in, something happened that stayed with me. Halfway through the session, Brandon, one of the junior analysts, paused before sharing, "Liana, do you think this tone fits with the new vision?" I didn't realize it at first, but that was the first time someone had asked me that directly, in front of everyone. Not Marcus, not Chloe, me. I gave feedback, calm and clear, and people nodded, took notes, adjusted slides. After the meeting, Lydia from design pulled me aside. "You've changed the energy," she said, "not just because Chloe's gone, but because you're here. Like really here." I smiled, unsure what to say. I guess I finally stopped waiting for permission. That night, I stayed a bit later than usual. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to, because for the first time in a long time, the work felt like mine. The ideas, the direction, the voice. As the office grew quieter and the sun dropped behind the skyline, I walked into the small breakout room with the big windows and sat with my tea. I opened the voice memos app on my phone and hit record. "This is Liana Carter," I said gently. "Campaign lead, November 13th, preparing remarks for the Glint Hive Summit. Topic: When silence becomes strength." I let the words settle. They used to ask me to speak less. Now they ask me to lead. I stopped the recording, named it, volume button. I didn't save it because I needed proof. I saved it because some part of me, the girl who once sat through meetings with hands folded and tongue bitten, deserved to hear it later. Before heading out, I left one last Slack message in the strategy channel. "Hey team, thanks for a great week. I'll handle the Monday client brief and finalize tone guides this weekend. Grateful to be in this role with all of you." Reactions poured in, but one stood out from someone I hadn't heard from since the fallout. "Chloe, glad the campaign's in good hands. You were always the one who saw the big picture. No bitterness, no sarcasm, just resignation." I read the message twice, then archived it. Before leaving, I turned off the lights, looked one last time across the quiet floor, and smiled. This time, they'd hear me live. They thought silence meant weakness, that staying calm meant surrender. But silence can be strategy, and calm can be control. Liana didn't need revenge. She needed the truth to echo in the right room. And when it did, everything changed. She didn't interrupt others to be seen. She built a moment no one could ignore. Respect wasn't demanded. It was inevitable, because when the quiet one stands, the room listens differently. And maybe that's the lesson. Not every battle needs a storm. Sometimes, it just takes one steady voice recorded, remembered, and finally, heard.